Hey y'all, it's Victoria and welcome back to my channel. I am a financial analyst making $73,000 a year, and this is my money and makeup series where I talk about personal finance while getting ready and doing my makeup. So welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about what I spent on my most recent trip. Me and my boyfriend, we went to Arizona and it was such a fun time. We spent $3,000 for 5 nights for 2 people. So let's break that down. All right, to begin, I'm going to be talking about transportation. So we did do a road trip in Arizona and we went to 5 different Arizona cities. We landed in Phoenix and we road tripped up to Sedona first, and then we went to the Grand Canyon. Then we went to Page, back down to Flagstaff, and then spent a day in Sedona. I know, girl, it's a lot. And then went to Phoenix. So it was kind of a lot, especially for us to have 4 full days there. We did fly there and our flights was $594. My boyfriend, he bought the flights, but I'm still including it in the total of the trip because outside of the flights, everything else we split right down the middle. Well, in my shopping, I paid for my own shopping. But because we hit all those spots, we needed a rental car. So we got a rental car and that was $281. And then the gas for that, it was like a Jeep Cherokee maybe? It was like some type of Jeep, I don't really know. But it was pretty good on gas, even though it was a Jeep, which we originally booked a full-size car, but they just didn't have it, so they upgraded us to a Jeep. But the gas for that was only $94. So I don't think that was too bad. And then maybe taking a step back and going back to flights again, we did pay to park at the airport that we flew out of, and that was $52 for that amount of time. So not too bad. Honestly, I think it would have been around the same for Uber. Even though we live only 10 minutes from the airport, it's just like, I don't know, Uber to the airport, they can be high for some reason. And then the last thing in the transportation category was Waymos, and these are like driverless Ubers. I looked it up and they said they only have them in, I think, San Francisco and Phoenix. I think that's right. But yeah, so we did a couple of those while we were in Phoenix because it was kind of cool. Like, I've never been in one of those. So we did that and that ended up being $52 for like 4 or 5 trips. And then next I want to highlight our accommodations. Like I said, we hit 5 cities and the Grand Canyon, because technically that's not considered a city. But we stayed in Sedona one night, we stayed in Page one night, we stayed in Flagstaff for another night, and then we stayed in Phoenix for 2 nights. And the hotels, they were pretty reasonable. The hotel in Sedona was $134. The hotel in Page was $136. The hotel in Flagstaff was $148. And it was like a resort type of thing, so I think that's why it was a little more expensive. It was the nicest as well, but still reasonable. I feel like all these hotels are, pretty much reasonable. And then the Phoenix Airbnb was $309 for 2 nights. That averages out to $150-ish per night as well. Like I mentioned, we did end up going to the Grand Canyon, and with that, the government is shut down right now, so we got free admission. But normally this would be $35 per vehicle for entrance to the Grand Canyon. And then the other excursions that we did was Horseshoe Bend and Page, which was $10 a vehicle for parking. So it's essentially free, but you have to pay $10 a vehicle for parking. We also did Lower Antelope Canyon, which ended up being the highest excursion at $99 a person, which that was beautiful, by the way. It was kind of like, I like to call it a photo excursion, where you're just kind of like, walking through and taking a bunch of pics. So it's not like my favorite type of excursions, I'll be honest. I love an activity where I'm actually doing something physically. Like, I don't know, we did kayaking, so like kayaking or like ATVing or something like physical with pretty views. But this one was kind of pretty views and just like walking through. There was like ladders and stuff though, so it was cool. I'm not gonna hate on it, it was cool. But it wasn't a very physical hike, so I wouldn't consider it to be like an actual physical activity. But nonetheless, that one came in at $99 each. And then our last excursion was kayaking, like I said, in the Salt River in Mesa, Arizona. And so that was $57 a person. Now, honestly, that was like my favorite excursion. But overall, the excursions ended up being $322 total for 2 people. I did end up doing like a little bit of shopping while we were there. We went to a place in Sedona. It was called Talkepaque. I believe I'm pronouncing that right, hopefully. But they had like these really cute boutiques. Like, oh my gosh, they were so cute. I could have spent like so much longer in there than we actually did. But I ended up spending $98 on little various things, souvenirs from that shopping center. So shopping in total was $160. And that total comes from our little Walmart runs where we had to buy some medicine, snacks, and some wine. And then the rest was the Talkepaque trip. One of our hotels, the resort one in Flagstaff, is called Twin Arrows. They had a casino in there as well. And so my boyfriend, he had never been to a casino. I think I've been like twice. And so we thought it would be fun to do, you know, a little bit of casino thing. I'm not into gambling personally. Low-key hate the concept of gambling. So it was just like fun though, you know, something to do. But we each took out $20 from the ATM. Of course, there was like a little ATM fee. But we spent $42.50 on gambling at the casino. And then our final category is food, drinks, and coffee. So we ate kind of like mid-range and then also low range. We had In-N-Out twice. We had like Raising Cane's. I think we even had McDonald's one night. So we had our fair share of like fast food, but we also had like, you know, some drinks for happy hour at like a nice restaurant, and we had like 2 or 3 sit-down restaurant experiences, and it was pretty fun. So that was nice. And then we also went to this one restaurant, and it was on Diners, Drives, and what's it called? Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. It was on that show, and that was pretty cool. We definitely went on a couple of coffee runs, but the total for our food and drink and coffee ended up being $650 for the total trip. We also went to 2 airport restaurants, one on the way in and one on the way out, so I included that in this total. Now, that does seem like a lot of money, and I was shocked. That was the biggest shock of these expenses, was the fact that we spent so much on food, because I felt like we ate so much fast food. Like, I don't ever eat that much fast food at home. Like, I don't do it. But you know, it was vacation, and honestly, it kind of was a timing thing too, because like our days were so packed with like driving and excursions and just trying to fit everything into, you know, 4 full days, that fast food kind of became like a convenience thing and just like a time thing. Like, oh, we don't have that much time to sit down in a restaurant, so let's just stop here. But somehow the food, drinks, and coffee total ended up being kind of ridiculous. So I'm very surprised at that. After all of those expenses, our grand total for this trip ended up being $2,960. Yeah, I expected it to be so much lower. It's kind of crazy how things add up when you actually track your expenses. This is my first time actually tracking what I spend on a trip. Most of the time, you know, I'll just spend. And don't get me wrong, I have the money to spend because I put money into my travel account every time I get paid. But I never have actually like sat down and tracked exactly how much I spent while traveling. So honestly, this was a shock to me. I don't like this at all. Let's change it. I was trying to do something different, like a lighter lip liner. No, I don't think that's for me. Especially because this was in the country. I thought this was going to end up being a budget trip. I thought this was going to be $1,000 a person, but it ended up being closer to $1,500 a person. I was floored at how much the trip actually ended up costing. After hearing that breakdown, what do you guys think? Do you think that was a reasonable amount to be spent on a trip to Arizona for 5 days for 2 people? Or did I kind of overdo it? I don't know. I feel like maybe the food and coffee could have been cut down a little bit more. That's one thing that I would try to be mindful of on my next trip. I don't know. Who wants to travel and not get what they want to eat? I don't know, but I'm gonna try to next time be a little more aware of how much we're actually spending on food. I wouldn't say I have any regrets about the amount of money spent. I know this wasn't a budget trip per se, but I feel like it was totally worth it. No regrets, would do it again. So that's the breakdown of my Arizona trip and the money that I spent there. Please let me know what you think. I finished my makeup. I'm not actually going anywhere, just to the grocery store. So it's just like a slight beat. But thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. And be sure to check out my Arizona vlog where I go over what I spent in real time. Thanks guys.